New year, new you. You've heard that phrase 1,000 times, and we've all done it. We say, this is going to be the year. I'm going to make myself feel better. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to be a better person this year. Well, we've all also failed at it. I failed at it many, many times. But you're going to meet a guy today that was in worse shape than any of us, and he's managed to pull it together in a fantastic way. This is going to be the year. We all come here to the Ace at Large podcast to help each other through difficult times. We're going to make this year better, especially after the year we've had. This is the year we're all going to be better because today we're going to lay out the blueprint. If I can do it, you can do it. And our guest is going to show you how to do it on the Ace at Large podcast.
This is the Radio Button Network. And this is the new Ace at Large podcast. Ace at Large podcast. Now, your host, Ace.
New year, new you. This is going to be the year. You're going to change everything. Millions and millions and millions of us say that every single year. We always say that this is going to be the year. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to feel better, not just about myself. I'm going to feel better as a person this year. And then we fail. What makes this year different? Well, this year, the Ace at Large podcast makes it different because this year, you're not going to fail because I have proof today. Proof that if this person can do it, you can do it. I was able to do it. And if this person can do it that I'm going to introduce you to in a few minutes can change his life, you can change your life for the better. And you will feel better. And more importantly, you will feel better about yourself. It is an unbelievably inspiring story that I will share with you and inspire you to change your life in 2021. Next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
So, the Ace at Large podcast has undergone some changes in the past couple of months. It's different from what it was a year ago. And we've talked a lot about helping people cope. Well, today, it's a little bit different because we're just going to talk about helping people, helping each other, inspiring each other to be better in the year that is 2021. 2020 is behind us. We're still dealing with some quarantine issues. We're still dealing with COVID and all that kind of stuff, but everybody was waiting to get to January 1st. For me, I was waiting to get to January 4th, which was my wedding day. And now it feels like the year has finally begun. Things are progressing like they should. We're moving forward now. And this is that time of year when everybody wants to change their life. This is going to be the year. Okay. And especially coming out of 2020, you've put on a few pounds. You're you're not feeling so good about yourself, but you're looking for some inspiration. Today on the Ace at Large podcast, we have that inspiration. Now, easily it could have been me, but I'm no expert. There was a time in my life not too long ago. Well, I would go back 20 years ago. I saw a picture of myself when my ex-wife was pregnant with Peyton. And it's the story I've told 1,000 times. I saw the picture and I thought, oh my God, that's my face that is that fat. I could hardly see my eyes because when I smiled, my cheeks were so puffy. And I think my forehead was fat too. They would come together and I was like, is that my face? That is my face. And I thought maybe I should check into how much I weigh. And I weighed 254 pounds. 254. Now I'm 6'4", and you hear like athletes say, oh, he's 6'4", 254, and you would think that's excellent. The difference is their body fat is about 8%. My body fat was about 78% at that point in life. And I decided I've got to change something here. And I did. And now I weigh about 212. I flutter between 210, 215, kind of somewhere in that neighborhood most of the time. But I found somebody who I think has an even more inspiring story because of the one line he heard from a doctor that served as motivation. Proof to me and will be to you that if he can do it, you can do it. Because he's kind of in the business of inspiring people to do this kind of stuff now. This is my friend Todd Midgett. And Todd is a part of the Ace at Large podcast in that Todd does all of the video work every week on the Ace at Large podcast. And I hope I haven't oversold it.
No.
But you would agree, you've got a pretty inspiring story.
Well, let me tell you what's funny about what you just said. First of all, it was a hell of a setup. Secondly, I'm sitting there listening to you, and the story that you're telling about when you were that big was when I was at my biggest because you were at my wedding to my now ex-wife when Peyton was just born.
That's right.
And that would have been about the time, I think, that you said you would have been overweight.
I was starting to lose weight then because Peyton was just a few months old when you got married.
Yeah.
So I remember that clearly because my ex-wife, Shawnette, was pretty pregnant with Peyton when I realized that, because that's one of the reasons they had taken the picture. We were home at Christmas leading up to Peyton was born in July, on July 3rd. And so we were home. I think it was at Christmas. It might have been spring break, but I'm almost positive it was at Christmas. And Shawnette was just starting to show. They took this picture, and I remember seeing me standing outside smiling. I thought, whoa. And I remember clearly, I started, like, how did this happen? And I remember, for me, I gained, not that I was in great shape to start with, but I gained a lot of weight when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Because I would say, what are we having for dinner? And she would say, I've been kind of craving spaghetti. And she would fix a plate of spaghetti for me. And then she would have spaghetti. But then, when you're pregnant, the cravings change. And she would take 2 bites. Oh, I've changed my mind. I don't want this. Dude. Okay, well, I'll eat it. And next thing you know, I've had 2 plates of spaghetti at 8 o'clock at night. And then, well, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. And that would be the worst thing you could do is carb load when you don't have any activities the next day, right before bed.
Dude, I'll one up you. When I was at my biggest and my ex-wife was pregnant, I would go to Sonic at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I would get the Sonic double cheeseburger with the large fry, large Dr. Pepper, and sometimes add in the extra large chili cheese coney.
Oh,
and then
the chili cheese coney is the best.
Is the best. And then sometimes a milkshake. And I added up the calories of that one time, and I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 calories at 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I'm a fat, you know what?
Yeah. So here's the thing. We know Todd, when we first came to Charlotte, we worked at a radio station called Kiss 95.1. And Todd was the production director. And I clearly remember Todd was one of the first people that we really got to know because we had to work with Todd every day on a daily basis. And Todd said, hey, you want to go grab some lunch? And I said, sure. And I'm trying to meet new people. And he said, I know this place.
I don't know where this is going.
We're kind of giving you a backstory of what our lives were like at the time. He said, I know this place. It's in what was it called? The Midtown Mall?
Oh, yeah, the Midtown Square Mall.
Midtown Square Mall. And we go into this mall in a not so great part of town in a new city. And we go into this mall and we walk in, and I thought, well, first off, I think good chance I could shoot a shotgun through here and not hit anybody. But we went to this one place specifically because they had ranch burgers.
I knew that's what you were going to say, the ranch burger.
And that was how we kind of began to bond, because they had ranch burgers and fries, and they were huge and they were excellent.
Oh my God.
But it was over food, our love of food.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Here's why I find this story so compelling, because a few years went by and we didn't see each other. We would email occasionally, that kind of thing. And then Todd contacted me and said, hey, and this is in no way, shape, or form an advertisement for anything.
No.
We're not being paid to do any of this. But Todd said, hey, I'm running a workout camp. And I'm thinking, first off, what?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the fit club.
Yeah. And he was running a fit club. And Todd got into Beachbody. And eventually turned me on to it and kind of got me interested in it. And it's kind of been a part of my life for a while. And I'm not saying I'm in phenomenal shape. Todd's in great shape.
No,
but
not anymore.
Here's the deal. Let's start. So let's go back. Right. How does this equate to you in your situation this year in wanting to change your life? Well, here's how. We'll start at the beginning. So for the interest of time, let me kind of condense the story a little bit.
Yeah.
What year was it that you fell off the roof of your house?
I was 33. So it would have been, what is that? Oh, how many years? I'm 46 tomorrow. So was that
13 years ago?
Yeah, 13 years ago.
So during a winter storm, Todd's satellite dish on top of his house froze over. He climbs up on the roof to get and while up there, you slipped and fell off the roof of your house.
I had the lawn mowing shoes on, which have no tread on them.
Right.
And I stepped on the shingles, which had ice on it. And as soon as I took my foot off the ladder, I went like belly up and landed flat on my back on a landscape timber. I fell about at least 10 or 12 feet. And I'm sitting there, and I thought I was going to die. And I'm crawling through like the snow and I can't make a noise. And I'm like trying to breathe. And my ex-wife she's my ex-wife now, finally hears me and gets me into the house. And then she's taking me to the hospital in the middle of like this ice storm. And all I'm thinking is, I ain't gonna make it. Like, I'm literally thinking I'm gonna die because I can't breathe. I'm like, my lungs are punctured. Something's going on. And we get to the hospital. They finally get me back. They do all these CT scans and run this stuff through me. And the doctor comes in and she goes, because I know what the line you're talking about. This is where that line comes in. the doctor comes back and she goes, "You're really lucky." She said, basically because I was 255, which is not far, like 1 pound heavier than
And how
you
tall
were.
are you, Todd?
I'm 6 foot.
Okay.
So like, imagine what it was like on me.
6'4", 254, and I felt terrible too.
But like I had some girth around me. And so apparently the doctor said that I was lucky that I had the girth around me. My wife goes, "Is it because he's so fat that basically protected him?" And the doctor was like, "Yeah, I had so much girth around my spine that when I landed on that landscape timber, it basically kept my spine from being crushed." Because the doctor looked at me and she said, "Normally, when I see this," she's like, "the people were either paralyzed or dead." She said, "You're really lucky." And that's when my wife was like, "Is it because he was so fat?" Which should have been a sign that I was going to be getting divorced years later.
Point being, the doctor, and Todd's laying here flat on his back, watching them talk back and forth over him, and the doctor agrees.
Yeah.
Yes. Essentially, the doctor is saying he's so fat, it may have saved from breaking his back.
And I was like, and so I go home and I'm doped up on pain meds and I'm sitting there. And again, I'm 33 years old, which is not old, even though then, and I felt like I was 60. Cause like if I would walk to the mailbox, I'd break a sweat. Like it was just miserable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take my shirt off at the beach. I loved wintertime because I could wear heavy baggy clothes and hide it. And I'm laying in bed. And again, not an endorsement or commercial, but I'm laying in bed. I see the commercial for P90X, which you know well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to do something. And I just remember ordering that stuff. And my ex-wife came home and she's like, "Why'd you do that? You're not going to stick to it." And I'm like, "No, this is going to be different. I got to do something." And it was like, I think it was that aha moment of like being scared literally to almost of death, that I was like, I can't do this anymore. And then that's what started me on the journey of losing weight and got to, I went from like 255. At my lowest, I was 179. Now I'm back up to like 195, 200.
But it's a fit 195.
Yeah.
There's a difference because you do realize it's not about the weight.
No, it's not.
It's about how you feel. For example, Amanda and I were talking about this the other day. When I first met Amanda, I weighed about 208, 209. I've been living alone, hiding out, divorced. A lot of times, laugh about this on the show, but just for lack of energy, my dinner would be, I'm going to have 3 scoops of this peanut butter and do something and watch TV.
You told me that the other day.
I did it all the time. And I lost I got really, I had a lot of definition that I don't have now, but I was really thin. And Amanda's point out, like people would look at you and say, "You're too thin" at that time. But now I'm actually stronger and in better physical shape, even though I weigh probably 212, 213, 215, somewhere in that neighborhood. So here's a guy who weighed 255. Here's a doctor essentially say, if he wasn't so fat, he would have really gotten hurt.
Yeah.
And doctors never say things like, if you weren't so fat, that kind of thing. So he began the process of changing his life. Now, I remember when I first started losing weight and decided to change my life, I went to a gym. A guy, TJ, was going to this gym and he said, "This guy's really cool. If you're interested in doing that, you should come meet him." And the first thing he told me was, and I'll never forget this, "Hey, this is not a diet. You're not going on a diet. You're changing the way you live your life. And you're not going to deprive yourself of anything. You're going to enjoy things, but you're going to have to regulate things and kind of slot things in certain categories."
Yeah.
And he said, "It doesn't matter. Just keep showing up." And one of the things I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but I've always thought, man, if I had started exercising in high school, I could have been 10 times a better athlete and could have done more things athletically that I really wanted to, because I had some skill. I just wasn't in the best shape. And I learned something I didn't understand. Now, granted, I went to high school in the 80s. You showed up to the gym. The coach was like, "We lift on Tuesdays. You do 60% of your max 10 times.
Yeah.
Then you go to the squat." I'm like, "Okay, dude, sounds good." So I was tall, thin, super thin. Like I said, I had some skills, but I wasn't strong. And in the weight room, I was intimidated because I didn't really know what I was doing.
Oh my God.
And I wasn't,
Yes.
and I could see like other people were lifting a lot more, and it's high school, and I don't know how this works. And then my dad tried off and on to get me into it, and it never really kind of panned out. And so I got this understanding of, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it works. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And the big thing is just keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And eventually it will get you where you want to be.
That's the biggest thing. Like I never had the patience to stick with anything because prior to, in the process of getting up to 255, there were times where I would try to get motivated to get in shape, and I would do like Couch to 5K, which was this thing back in the day. And I think it's still around that you play on your iPod and you get on a treadmill, and I'd buy a treadmill, and I had my weight bench from high school, and I'd be like, oh, I know what I'm doing. And I would literally work out and then go upstairs and eat Sonic. Or what? And I love Sonic, but nothing to get Sonic. But like I would go up and eat fast food, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I earned it." And I'm like, people, it's such a simplistic thing, but people overcomplicate it or just don't understand that it's a lifestyle change.
Right.
And I think if it hadn't have been for that scary moment, the scary moment I think is what made me stick to it. And I think that's the biggest fear, or the biggest thing I see with people, is that they don't have what we call the why. They don't have that thing that motivates them.
Yeah.
Whether it's, being around for your kids, if it's heart disease, or if it's cholesterol. Like I mean, my cholesterol was ridiculously high, like blood pressure high. I hated going to the doctor. Still don't crazy about going to the doctor, but it was just
because it was all bad news.
Yeah.
It was all going to be bad. I've been there.
Your blood pressure's up, your heart, yeah.
Like none of these things we're going to tell you now about you go to the doctor. The doctor might as well have said nothing in the next 30 minutes is going to be positive for you that's going to happen.
Exactly.
Other than the fact that, we can tell you you're not going to die today.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And the why is a big deal. That picture was the why. Like,
yeah.
Okay. I gotta make some kind of a difference here.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it in high school, and I wish I had, but now it makes such a difference from the standpoint of it's not about the weight. And this is one of the things that, if you don't know, if anybody doesn't know, my wife Amanda's a personal trainer. She just launched her own business during COVID a few months ago. And she tells all of her clients, this is an 80-20 thing. 80% of the time, because there are a million things out there, and they will all want to know, hey, do I do keto? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this? And I'm not knocking any of those. I'm not knowledgeable on all of them. Do I do intermittent fasting? All of those things will work in some fashion if you stick with them and apply them. But one of the things I think that makes people go off the rails eventually, they get derailed, is trying too hard to be too disciplined too fast.
Yeah.
Because the success helps build the discipline. But you got to understand you're running, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
So to speak.
And both of us have people in our lives, and I swear to God, I'm not trying to name drop, but there's two things that I love doing: podcast production and radio production.
Yeah.
And so I love doing yours. And then I also do Sean T's, the guy, the Insanity guy, who's also from Beachbody. Most people know Sean as the bald black guy that does Insanity. And because of my issue, or my relationship with Beachbody, I got to be really good friends with him. And he says the same thing. It's like 85-15, 80-20.
Yeah.
But like the thing that makes him mad as a celebrity fitness trainer, and I'm sure Amanda could speak to this as well, is that like I do intermittent fasting, but that doesn't mean everybody should do it.
Right.
I cut out dairy, and when I cut out dairy years ago, I immediately lost 10 pounds.
Because bodies are different.
Right.
People respond to things differently.
Right.
Some things work for some people, not for others. But that basic concept of understand it's a marathon, not a sprint, that 80-20, 85-15, and you'll adjust from time to time depending on what's coming up or what's going on. I'll give you an example. Before the wedding, Amanda and I both were locked in.
Yeah.
And it was, we're going to look our very best, for this wedding, for these pictures. We're going to spend time on the beach together. And I saw I have a picture. It's on my phone, and I
send it to me. We'll throw it up on the screen. Yeah.
I feel bad.
Maybe you can't.
No, it's fine. I feel bad even showing it because it feel like I'm like, hey, people, look how good I look.
No,
but I am so effing proud of this picture.
Thank you.
That's what it is.
That's what you should be. And and what I was going to say to add to that is like, just because I do intermittent fasting, if you don't, doesn't mean that you're wrong and I'm right. And that's the biggest thing that Sean tells people is he's like, and Amanda Price says the same thing. Mm-hmm. You've got, like you said, you got to find what works for you. And just because something works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And you can't shame people. But let me ask you, I'm curious about this because for me, you were talking about showing that picture.
Yeah.
When I was going through my weight loss journey, I was proud to put myself out on social media, but at the same time, I felt like you said, a little weird about it because there's parts of me that still feel like the fat guy, the fat Todd. Like I'll look in the mirror and I can look somebody else. My girlfriend might be like, "Oh my God, you look amazing." And I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, all I see is the 255. Do you ever deal with that?
Yes, all the time. We talked about it on the show yesterday.
Yeah.
My neck was bothering me.
Yeah.
And so we worked really hard leading up to the wedding.
Yeah.
And while we were there, we didn't deprive ourselves, but I didn't go out slamming beers all day at the beach. I might have a beer at the beach and then I would have a water and then I'd have a drink and then I'd have 2 waters. And then, so I just didn't spend my days, and I worked out every day while I was there, except for 2, I think. And made certain to work really hard while I was there because I wanted to look good out there on the beach because that's what I'd worked for.
Right.
But we had decided when we come home, we're taking a few days, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Because we had worked so hard and kind of deprived ourselves leading up to it. We had Mexican last night. We had margaritas. We're having dinner Thursday night with all of Peyton's friends before they go back to college. And we've all decided, okay, we're going to eat whatever the hell we want. That Sunday we went and had wings and I had like 4 beers at lunch because I just hadn't done it.
I don't blame you.
Here's the difference though. To your original question before I get sidetracked. Yes, because my neck was bothering me. And Amanda said, I'm going to set you up with you've got to go have that looked at. I'm going to set you up with a massage and have them work on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go get a massage. I'll go do something else. And we ended up, I was going to go to the chiropractor. I'm going to go to the chiropractor. She goes, why would you not go get a massage if your neck hurts? I said, because I've been eating a couple. I look bad right now. I'm super fat. She's like, Dave, it's been 3 days. You look exactly the same. You don't look terrible at all. You look really good. Man, I'm not going to go lay around in my underwear on the table. She's like, do you think the massage therapist cares? I was like, I care. It's me. It's not, has nothing to do with her. It's me.
Yep.
And that stopped me for a long time from going to do things like that. That would be super relaxing because, well, I don't want anybody to see me like that, And I was always the person taking the pictures at the beach. And, I don't want to be in any of them. I just want to take them, that kind of stuff.
And there's times where I look back on some of the stuff, like when I was really working out, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, like I look back and I'm like, damn, like I actually look better than I realized. Like I remember, I can look at pictures of the past and be like, damn, I look good there. And I remember at that moment feeling fat because it's the mental thing.
Sure.
And I'm going to be honest with you, the people out there listening, and I don't know, well, I think with you having the wedding has probably kept you from feeling this way. I've been struggling since the pandemic because 2020 was rough. Yeah. Because the thing that and the thing I'll add to this is that for me, I constantly have to have a finish line that's continuously moving to keep me motivated to work out. And so for me, the last 3 years, I got into Spartan races and OCR and that kind of stuff. And so for me, Spartan races, and I would do a ton of them, like all over. And I knew if I had a race coming up, I had to train.
Yeah.
And that kept me motivated. When the pandemic hit and all the Spartan races got canceled, I was like, uh-oh. Because like now I went from working out 5, 6 days a week and be able to pretty much kind of get away with cheating on food to like working out once, twice. Oh, I'd rather watch Netflix. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt myself.
You felt the slide.
Yeah, the slide for sure.
Yeah. Motivation comes in a variety of ways. And talking about what works and what doesn't work for people. During the summer, around July, when Amanda was finishing up getting her personal training license, she decided, I'm going to start counting macros. Now, that's an extreme. And here's the only way I can explain it because I'm not an expert. If anybody's wondering what it means to count macros, you have to plan every meal, every day, down to the last little detail. For example, if I'm going to have chicken and asparagus and potatoes, how exactly am I going to prepare the potatoes? Then I need to figure out what's the carb count, how many sugars, I don't even know what else, sodium, all that in that. And then you have to do that for each particular thing. So we were only going to restaurants where she could look the menu up online and plan ahead and be prepared.
Wow.
And if she wanted to have a glass of wine at dinner or in the afternoon, she had to work that into the macro thing. So maybe for dinner, she could only have just half of the piece of chicken or something like that. Like it's an extreme. Now, here's the catch. It works like a champ because you are giving your body exactly what it needs. And it's all based on your particular body. There's a math formula and all this kind of stuff that goes into it. Downside was she was miserable. And I mean miserable. It made her like she said, hangry all the time, in a bad mood. Everything would frustrate her when it came to food and all that kind of stuff. And I kept telling her, like, wow, you look incredible. And it works, but she was already in shape. But it's something people use for fitness contests and that kind of thing. And eventually she said, I can't do this. I cannot keep this up. And then we realized in talking about it, okay, she's glad she tried it because now she understands it. And it's something to do with a goal in mind. Like there needs to be, like that's something she said, I can't do that all the time. I can do it with a particular goal in mind. And that's why she talks about the 80-20, 85-15 kind of stuff.
And you've got to find something that's sustainable. Like when I first started getting into the serious like training, I went and did what they call a bod pod. There's also where they measure your body fat. They can also do a dunk thing. I went to UNCC, has a kinesiology department. And they have a bod pod, and they basically strip you down to like you're just in the like skinny like compression shorts, and that's it. And they put a thing over your hair, and like you're in there, and it measures your body fat percentage. And it's kind of, if you're claustrophobic, it can be a little weird. And like I think I remember going the first time, and I was like at 25%, which is about average. Yeah. But I wanted, and I got down. My goal was to break 10%, and I think and I worked my ass off, and I got down to like a 10.9, 11.1. And it was as low as I could get, and I couldn't maintain it. And I was driving myself insane, and I was like so obsessed with the number. Yeah. So like the people that are out there listening, if you guys get on a fitness journey, and I see, and I'll use a kind of a weird example, but I'll use the example of pull-ups. And this is a thing with guys and with girls.
This is a great example.
When I started off with P90X, it's a lot of pull-ups. And when people start that program, they get so discouraged. They're like, I can't do pull-ups. I can't do pull-ups. I can't do pull-ups. And I would tell people, look, it's going to take you 6 months to a year before you get good to doing pull-ups. And you're going to have to use a chair, and you're going to have to realize you're going to have to use an assistant to get that upper body strength. And it takes time.
It's a process.
And I'm like, and so like, I keep telling people that it's patience and it's time, and you've got to celebrate every single number that you hit. If you're trying to lose 30 pounds, and you get stuck on 5 pounds for 2 or 3 weeks, it's called a plateau, and it happens. Guys lose weight faster than girls. Girls will then usually catch up. We would see this in test groups with Beachbody all the time. The guys would just plummet their weight. The girls would get distracted or get frustrated. And then all of a sudden the guys would plateau and the girls would catch up to them. And so it's just a journey, but you just got to have the patience and the wherewithal to understand what the goal in the end picture is.
And that's a key word, understand.
Yeah.
Understanding and patience, I think are probably, for me, they're the two biggest things. Because when I started it, I couldn't do a pull up. Like I ordered the pull up bar for home and all that, and I had to put my foot on something. And I'm like, oh, I can get 10 of these, and then eventually, now I'm not great at pull ups, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with the way my body is structured. I'm tall, I have long arms. It's a long reach to do a pull up, that kind of thing. But now I have no problem. If I'm doing it like 10, 12, 15. Yeah. Okay. And you say, well, that's all you do is 12 pull-ups. No, if you do a Beachbody program, you're doing 12 pull-ups like 10 times throughout a sequence of events that goes on. It's And the other thing that I had to learn was, and they talk about this, it's one of my favorite sayings. And again, it's not an ad for Beachbody. Right. It's just something that I chose to do. Do your best, forget the rest. And he pointed out, hey, look, you're going to have a bad day. Some days are going to be bad days, and you learn, like, look, today just sucks. I'm tired, but keep showing up. And I've had days where instead of doing it, like, look, I just don't feel well today, but I got to go at least do 30 minutes of cardio, which it gives you a feeling of accomplishment. I did something. Yeah. When I first started going, Freddie Clark ran a place called Clark's Total Fitness. And he was the guy that told me, look, we're okay. We sat down when I first went. TJ introduced me to him. Because TJ was kind of the inspiration. TJ was like, I was talking about it. He goes, this guy at this gym, he knows what he's talking about. I really like this guy. And Freddie walked me through, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's how you eat. You have to eat, understand. You're not going to lose weight by starving yourself. You must eat because you're going to be exercising and feeding your body. And the things he preached, patience, Saturday night. And he started out with 1 day a week, eat whatever you want. Yeah. He said, now eventually, you're going to become more confident and begin feeling better about it. And you on your own will begin to curtail that to 1 meal a week. And I thought, no, that's not going to happen. Well, sure enough, eventually It's like, well, I don't want to, if I'm going to eat a bad meal at Saturday night, I'll probably have a pretty healthy lunch. And you just kind of do. Once you begin to see success breeds, more success.
Yeah.
I remember there was a guy that I know that I played golf with a few times. He was a golf pro. And I saw him one day and I said, man, you look like you've lost some weight. He goes, lost 30 pounds, 25 pounds. And he said they had, at the golf club, they had a trainer that came in. They were asking somebody to take the course, whatever.
Yeah.
He wanted to help somebody to get a track record built up. And he said the first meeting, the guy said, tell me about your day. He goes, man, I'm a golf pro. I'm I think I'm fit. I'm out. I'm busy. I've just, put on some weight. I'm not doing a lot of exercise, but I'm, active. That I come home in the evenings and I probably have, 4 or 5 drinks or whatever, 4 or 5, maybe a couple beers. And the guy goes, stop. Okay, first. And I've never forgotten this sentence. He said, he goes, one night a week, you can have 45 beers, but never again can you have 4 or 5 beers a night. He said, in one night, Saturday night, I don't care how many beers you have, but that's it for the week. You're done. That's all you get.
Yeah.
And he said that, he thought, okay. And he said that made a huge impact on him, understanding this is about, you don't deprive yourself, but you do have to put things into different categories, and understand how it works.
Yeah. There's one, you would like listening to you talk about that made me think of one other thing, like another struggle that people have is in addition to food is time. Yeah. And so and I'm not going to pick on women, but I'm going to use women as an example because usually the women are the caregivers and they're the moms and they're the ones dealing with the kids and especially young kids and fixing meals and all that stuff. And I've seen it. And even my girlfriend now, before she moved down here, there would be times where she would be like, I need to work out. But then she would get distracted by the kids or the kids would need something. And every night something came up and I'd be like, did you work out? No. And we would try to keep each other accountable, which is a good thing to have as an accountability partner. But if you're a parent out there and you're like, I don't have the time, I would encourage you to realize that you're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for your kids. Because if you're not happy with yourself and you're not feeling like you're the best version of yourself, you're not going to be the best parent. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to realize that it's okay to be selfish enough to take some time and be like, hey kids, I can't do this. Mom or dad needs 30 minutes to go work out.
Yeah.
And go do it and be okay with it. Mm-hmm. I see that all the time.
And here's what happens. And I can attest to this, especially with kids. It changes your energy level with your kids a great deal.
Yep.
It also, I believe the vast majority of teaching kids things in life, I said this one, they come in 5-minute increments, little talks here and there. There's rarely is there a huge lecture that changes the child's life. It's what they piece together and see in 5-minute conversations here and what they observe. And if they observe that becoming important to you and the positive changes it has on your life, they just soak that stuff in. They just take it in as they go. And eventually it impacts their lives. Well, they will want to do it with you or do it for themselves, which makes them feel better as they grow older and so forth and so on. Absolutely. All that stuff is super important.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of things. Let's to recap. If I was able to do it and Todd was able to do it, there's no reason you aren't able to do it. And how do you get from point A to point B? What are the key things? What are the 4 or 5 things that you would need to make certain that this is going to be the year that you make yourself feel better and become a more positive person? Because I do believe it does make you a more positive person as well.
Absolutely.
You're a better person in so many different ways when you start to feel good about yourself. How do we do that? 4 or 5 keys next.
There's more of the new Ace at Large podcast next. Welcome back to the new Ace at Large podcast.
So we're talking about 2021, new year, new you. The reason we're here every week for the Ace at Large podcast is to help each other, to pick each other up, to keep each other moving forward, to share some positive things with each other, or just share how we work through our day-to-day struggles, whatever that struggle may be. But today, because this is the first Ace at Large podcast of the year that is 2021, wanted it to be about how we do these things and make these positive changes and move forward. And my friend Todd is here. If you've been listening, you know that Todd once weighed 6 feet tall, weighed 255.
Yep.
And fell off the roof of his house would have broken his back. Doctor told would have broken your back if not for how fat he was.
Yep.
Is pretty much it. And Todd changed his life. Would you say you're down? You've gotten down to
Like,
you're really training hard for events like 179, 180. Now
Yeah, but like 195, 200.
Yeah, but I mean, at 179, 180, you were like tip top.
Yeah, lean,
performance shape, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
not something that's sustainable on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
You know, there was like you said, there was a method and a reason for that. I mean, like I said, I've told us this 1,000 times. I was 254 pounds, and now I weigh about 212, 215. I'm not any specimen, but
dude, you're in great shape.
Thank you. But I feel 10 times better.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna tell you what, it makes you feel a lot younger too.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel a lot better at my age now than I did when I was, 28, 27, 28, 29 physically. I have a lot more energy and all that kind of stuff. So you want to change your life this year. How do you do it? What's the process? Well, to me, I just jotted down a few ideas here. Number one, understand the process. Understand this takes time. I hate the cliche, but it's so appropriate. It is a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to be hard, especially in the beginning. Then, after a few weeks, you'll see one little gain here, one little gain there, and you'll walk away one day going, well, that was actually a lot easier today than it was the last time I did it, and much easier than the first time I did it. And that's huge because that's what inspires you to push yourself even harder to go a little bit further. But number one, understand. Number two, choose a plan. You got to have a plan. You can't just say, I'm going to get on the treadmill for 30 minutes every day. Well, that's not going to work effectively for you. You've got to choose whatever your plan is going to be. This is how I'm going to eat my meals. This is when I'm going to try to work out every day. These are the types of workouts I'm going to do. Make sure you're doing enough of the right types of workouts, because if you decide, hey, I'm going to just lift weights every day. Well, that's not going to get you to your ultimate goal. And if you say, hey, I'm going to walk on the treadmill every day or whatever, that's not going to get you to your ultimate goal. There's got to be a plan. So understand the process, choose your plan, and just show up every day. Show up, find a way. And I know you hear people say this, if you've never exercised before, this is very, very true. I can tell you for myself, this is very true. On the days you don't feel like going and you go and just do it. Maybe you weren't even great. You don't feel like going and you go and do it. There is really a sense of accomplishment on those days in particular. Like days I feel good and I'm looking forward to going, like, oh man, I feel good today. I'm looking forward to kind of push myself a little bit today. I've been doing good lately. When you go and do that, it's like, those are easy days. But the day you're like, this sucks. I don't want to be here. I'm tired. I probably should just blow it off. I should probably go home. I think I tweaked my knee a little bit when I was stretching a second ago. I probably should be careful of that today and go late. That's been an excuse.
Me too.
Like, did my ankle just pop? I better watch that. I should go easy on that. Because then if somebody says to me, I think I tweaked my ankle. I'm just going to kind of lay off of it today. It's starting to swell a little bit or something.
Yeah. All
those lies we tell ourselves. You don't feel like going. Even if you don't do all that you had set out to do, 9 times out of 10, you will, because you'll go, and I've done this. Think, I'm probably going to cut this short today. If I do 3/4 of this, that'll be enough.
Yeah.
And then you get 3/4 into it and realize, it's like 10 more minutes. I'm close enough. Might as well finish this now. I've done this much, and then you push yourself to end up going all the way through. The one outlier in that for me is yoga, because I hate yoga with a passion. Anyway, understand the process and that it is a process. Pick a plan, choose a plan, show up, and number 4, then just stay with it. Don't give up on it. Don't quit on it. There's going to be a time that you're going to feel awesome. Man, I lost 4 pounds this week. You'll see yourself in the mirror and go, look how good, like my shoulders look good today. Look, man, hey, did anybody else notice can you tell me I got a line on my shoulder? And you think that's fantastic. And then about 2 weeks later, that's going to come to a grinding halt. And you're going to be, and if you get on the scale once a week and you look at it like, did I gain a pound? What the hell? And that's when people just quit. Don't, because it's a cycle. It's part of understanding the process. It's a cycle that everybody goes through. And eventually when your body kicks back in again, and sometimes you have to make a slight alteration to something, understand, know your plan, know what you're doing. And when you make that alteration, suddenly it changes everything and boom, it kicks back in again and you're off to the races feeling great.
And one thing that I would tell people to do is take pictures. And people hate to do this.
Yeah.
And nobody has to see them but you. But take pictures every 30 days, maybe 15 if you want to. And if you've got one of those tape measures that you can measure your body and stuff, take measurements.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and I know they say muscle weighs more than fat, and you've heard that before, but it's really true. And sometimes you'll notice things in day 1 and day 30 that you don't notice it because you see yourself in the mirror every day.
Yeah.
If you take those 30-day increment pictures, you'll see little changes in your midsection or here or there or whatever, your face, whatever.
And everybody is going to have everybody has a problem area.
Yep.
Because of just how your body's constructed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get, and I've noticed this, like I'll give you an example. Todd, if I work out with Todd, which I have before numerous times, you get really good biceps.
Yeah.
I don't. And I've worked out with Todd and realized we're doing the same way. We're doing the same thing the same way. Why do my biceps not look like his? And I've come to the conclusion, I just don't know that my biceps will make that little tight nugget thing. It's like a long looking muscle that looks
right.
Like I see some definition, but it doesn't look like yours.
Right. Everybody's different. Yeah.
Like he's not doing any more than I am.
Yeah.
But it's just because there's a difference.
Yeah.
I have and always have, growing up, I was rail thin, like shockingly thin. But there was even at that super thin weight that I was, there's a tiny layer, like a little spare tire of fat that runs. All the fat in my body is contained in my ass and right around my waist. And even when I was, in high school, I had this little bit, even that little amount of fat, and which I still have to this day. And in that picture that and you can post this picture, I'm sure it's already been up now if you're watching the podcast, you'll notice that's the fat that I have. It's always in that place. And have a real hard time with that. You got to understand that. And I've tried to, and I've worked on it, but that's a really hard thing for me. That's my difficult thing, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And like I'll put on workout shorts, and even if I'm working out by myself, I have the same issue right here on this back corner of your hips. And I'm like, it's amazing how much it messes with me just working out.
Yeah.
I'll look at it and be like, I'll be working out going, wow, I'm fat.
Yeah.
Like it messes with you.
I swear, I got a bathing suit in to go to Jamaica, and I put it on, and I'm standing and looking head on at the mirror. I'm looking head on at the mirror, and I was like, oh damn, like man, this looks good. This is good color. Wow. And I really have been paying attention to myself in the process. Like I look pretty good. I look good, especially to be 52. I look good. And then I turn. How does it? And then that part hung down.
Completely ruins it all, doesn't it?
I might have put a gun to my head at that point in my like. I looked like that and went, "Oh shit! Look at that!
Yeah.
Oh my god! I look horrible." And day was ruined. And Amanda comes in and she goes, "Oh my god! You look great in that." And I went, look." She's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh no, that's." I couldn't even make words. Like, that's horrible. Look at that. Oh my God, I can't wear this. Like, I don't even think I should go. And I'm downhill at that point.
Absolutely.
The whole rest of the next hour was ruined. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yep.
She's like, you have got to get over there. You look great. She goes, you turn weird one way and see yourself, and suddenly you can't let that, mess with your head. That is a good thing about weight, though. People worry about the weight too much. And I did it first. I was like, I got to get my weight down. And at one point I was down to like 205. And Freddie was like, hey man, look, you're 6'4" and you ain't like 205. You've lost enough weight. Stop working on weight loss. Like, we need to change. You need to be doing more lifting now and less cardio and that kind of stuff. We need to alter this because you need to put some size back on because you are super thin. Like, not in a good way either. Like, it isn't in a bad way. But I was going to say the weight thing. I know that's a big thing for females. Even Amanda as a personal trainer, but sometimes she'll catch herself worrying about the weight, but she knows, and she can tell you she's in what I consider phenomenal shape right now. But she weighs a little more than what used to be her goal weight.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put pictures up side by side, when she weighed less, she looked good. But she doesn't look nearly as good as she looks now when she weighs she'll get upset with me I'm guessing. She probably weighs 4 or 5 pounds, maybe 6 pounds heavier than that. But her body looks 100 times better. Even though as good as she looked then, she looks 100 times better because it's all proportionate and muscular and all that kind of stuff now. So you can't get caught up in that.
Mm-mm.
So here's the point. We talked about a lot of stuff and had a lot of fun. But if I can do it, you can do it. If Todd can do it, you can do it. But those things are key. Understand the process. Choose a plan. Show up. And then just stay with it. You know, I'll start on Monday, like the first Monday of the month. Be a good marker, good place to start. And then, that's like the 7th. This is the 6th. Who starts on the 6th or something? Start on the 1st. I'll wait until the next month. I'll start on the 1st. Then we're really kicking into high gear. I'll do some stuff between now. I can always find an excuse not to do it. So understand, choose a plan, show up, stay with it. And I swear to you, if my fat ass can do it, you can do it. You know, just hang in there and you'll feel better about yourself. You'll have a sense of accomplishment. And sometimes I have to look at things like it's a battle is the wrong word, but you know, there's no way you can let COVID win.
Mm-mm.
You just got to do it. It's a new year. You've made it through the hard part. I mean, you made it through last year. So now it's just a matter of taking care of yourself and doing all of the things and being all of the things that you want to do and you want to be. Okay? There. Now, I'm going to go eat. I love y'all. We'll see you next week.
This is the new Ace at Large podcast. The new Ace at Large podcast will be back next Thursday.